Imagine a world where robots took the jobs of human beings. Not because of greedy corporate companies, but in the name of science, to protect the world in an otherwise bleak, apocalyptic land. Today, we get to lead these scientists in their mission, as we've been charged to protect these arcs of the last remaining seeds on Earth, with the hope of replanting the lost trees of old in the new world. But this mission is so important that not even humans could be trusted with it, as there's no guarantee that we'll survive the continuingly frigid weather conditions. Which is why our goal for today will be to fully automate this city with self-sustaining robots. However, these robots still need to be built and properly programmed by us humans, which normally we would get to right away if Bill hadn't lost them in the snow on the way here, which means that instead we're going to have to set up a beacon first so we can safely travel the surface and look for our lost plans. In the meantime, we'll have to work on our basic human needs until we can get this place fully automated. So, it's back to square one, gathering coal and collecting wood. We can use these to make our workshop, build some basic tents, and also build a small kitchen, which can start cooking the few rations we brought with us on this trip. Unfortunately, this is all the food we have available to us right now. Normally, you would enlist the help of workers to hunt down wild animals at night, but apparently engineers are too dainty to hunt, as it isn't even an option, meaning we'll have to wait until we unlock hydroponics. Or alternatively, once they finish building the balloon, it's possible that we could find some food out in the wild. So, I quickly made a squad of engineers as soon as the balloon was up and sent them on their way. While they didn't find their research plans right away, they found something almost even better, in the form of a broken down automaton, which they were able to repair and send back to camp, where I was still prepping for our food issues by researching a hothouse. Although, in hindsight, I should have focused on our temperature upgrades as a cold front was on the way. I wasn't the only one to notice this either, as the citizens informed me that the seeds could potentially be at risk. So I quickly researched the heaters as fast as I could, but of course, we don't work at night. So I was forced to watch the time go by and the weather get colder, meanwhile we weren't getting any smarter. Luckily, they finally woke up and had the research finished by lunchtime, meaning we were able to preserve the seeds. With that crisis averted, we made contact with our scouts who had claimed to have found our old base, which was full of resources, but more importantly, was full of the plans to build more automatons. In light of this, I sent them home immediately, in hopes that we could start working on building the automatons. However, our infrastructure wasn't really ready for that yet. The couple automatons we did have were already wiping out the nearby crates and coal piles, and we were soon going to run out of resources unless we researched more renewable sources like coal mines and sawmills. But with those in place, I felt more confident about moving on to building robots. Although early on into building the robots, a scientist came up to me and requested the day off to stay home and research something incredible that he had found. I let him take the day off, but not even 24 hours later, he returned to tell me that he was going to have to take another day off researching. Except this time he wanted to take one of our automatons with him. In the name of science, I agreed, but of course letting him take this robot home would be a mistake, as he brought it back the next day completely broken, demanding yet another steam core to repair it. Steam cores are very limited and cannot be manufactured, but at this point, I was in too deep and he had already broken it, so I decided to give him the extra steam core. Fortunately, I was rewarded for continuing to support the engineer, as he was able to repair the robot and complete his research, resulting in a whopping 5% productivity increase. I'm not sure that's worth it, but there's no changing it now. However, apparently that wasn't all he was researching, because we can also now enable robots to perform more precise jobs, like being a surgeon. This meant we had finally honed in our robot production and could move forward with automating the city. Of course, as usual, as soon as things are going great, somebody shows up to my door and ruins my day. Only this time he wasn't preaching about an ending that had befallen him, but rather an ending yet to come. He fears that the city he came from will die if we don't intervene. To verify his story, I sent out our scouts to follow the trails from where he came, where they found some old resources, a broken down vehicle, and some tracks that led towards a lookout tower. From there we could see Manchester City, where he came from. But as we got closer, we realized it was a shantytown, completely underdeveloped for the coming storm. But as a kind leader in a civilization that was abundant in technology, I would have felt bad to tell this man no. So, we agreed to help him. However, I would soon realize that it was us who needed help, as our infrastructure was nowhere near the standard of success. We would need over 8,000 coal, and I would have to build 5 houses, which I hadn't even researched yet. Despite this, I continued to try and save both societies at the same time. I researched homes and built them for our people, I stockpiled the food we needed, and I was feeling pretty good. But There was absolutely no way I was going to save 8,000 coal. I just didn't plan for that. I researched some coal mines and opened them up closer to town, and with that, I had accomplished 3 out of the 4 goals, which I figured would be enough. So I decided to focus on our goal with the Manchesters of saving up 600 wood and 600 steel. But unfortunately, I had straddled too many ideas. The weather came quicker than I thought it would, and my seeds began to grow cold. I panicked and signed in a 24-hour shift, which immediately backfired. I was attempting to research steam hubs, but instead I had killed one of my own, only to find out it didn't even matter. These goals weren't optional. I failed to collect my 8,000 coal, which meant that my engineers were doomed. Not only did I let down Manchester City, but I let down myself and all the engineers that I was in charge of, not to mention the next generation that these trees were supposed to give life. I couldn't leave things the way I did, so I came back the next day, refreshed, with a clear mind, and with the goal of protecting these little seeds. This time, I put an emphasis on research. Previously, I made the mistake of wasting a lot of my research on generator upgrades that ultimately just didn't matter. On top of that, I researched coal mining way too late in the game. Now that I know I need 8,000 coal, I would have to start here. And with my prior knowledge, it didn't take me very long to catch up with my past self. And very soon, I once again found myself talking to the crybaby from Manchester. Except this time, I was cruising. Okay, except that one time that my coal hit 0 and my generator shut down. But we don't talk about that. Like I was saying, we were cruising. I was able to automate our city 2 days earlier than our last campaign and had more automatons working everywhere. Even with 7 days left to prepare, we were almost completely ready for survival, and by the 5-day mark, we had basically satisfied all the conditions. All I had to do was recall my scouts, which I could do at any time. So, I turned my focus towards the people of Manchester City. I even researched a faster way to produce steel in an attempt to meet their crazy numbers, which I eventually did. However, I wasn't prompted to do anything with them. I thought something would pop up, but maybe instead it was my job to deliver it with a scout team? Except my scout team was busy, so I decided instead to turn one of my robots into a scout. Manchester did request an automaton, so what better way to deliver the resources than with the automaton they want? But even then, I wasn't prompted to do anything. I even sent the automaton to their front door, hoping I could maybe send supplies then. But instead, nothing happened. The robot just showed up to their city, mocking them. Here was a shantytown full of people dying, and I'm like some rich millionaire flaunting my robot from down the street like, "Oh, look at me, look at how cool I have a robot, look at me, you're poor." So ultimately, I had to suck it up and face the facts. I would not be able to save the people of Manchester. I just didn't know how to. So I made my automaton turn around and head back home. At the end of the day, the mission was what was really important, and we had to protect these seeds. All I had to do was check the last box. Once our robot returned, we closed off the door to all outsiders. Our 15 automatons would do the rest of our lives' work, for they would be charged with taking over once we were all gone. And all we could do now was hunker down in the homes that I built, knowing that we did our best. I felt better about this run. At least I managed to save the scientist and seeds. It was definitely better than the first one where I let everybody die. But I also felt really bad about the Manchester residents who I promised to help and still let down at the end. If you've ever managed to save them, or if you want me to try saving them again, let me know down in the comments and maybe we'll be a better leader next time. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the video and have a good day.